Torbay's only truly local radio station.
Riviera FM. Good morning. This morning we're talking about something called Regenerate Devon and a summit where visionaries from across the county or country even are coming together virtually for the biggest regeneration project in Devon ever seen since World War II. On the telephone this morning, I am joined by Chris Gunson. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning.
Let's just get into this straight away. Thanks very much for joining me. I understand that you've set up an organisation called Local Spark Torbay. Can you talk to us about what that is and how it was set up and how it came to be?
I certainly can, and it's a story I'm very proud of. It started back in 2017 when I had been living in the Bay for about 10 years, and I was very uncomfortable with the amount of deprivation and the amount of really obvious wealth that was so close together, but it was like different universes. And I'd been looking around for an opportunity to maybe do something about that. And I heard of something called the Devon Convergence, which has happened a couple of times before, and it brought together people from all over Devon who wanted to make things better. On the 2017 one, it came to Torbay because when the other ones had happened, people from Torbay tended not to get involved in them, so they came here. I found out about it, and as part of that, it's rather unusual sort of event. They use something called open space, which means that people who are there can actually decide on a topic that they want to host a conversation about. So we got to the whole day event, we got to the afternoon, and we were in Torbay, but no one was actually talking about Torbay. It was fascinating stuff, really good, not talking about Torbay. So when I had the opportunity, I said, well, I'd like to host a table about what we can do here in Torbay. This is always quite an anxious thing to do. I've done this sort of thing before because you never know if anyone's going to turn up because they get to choose. You're given a table with a number. You go and sit at it at a prearranged time, and you desperately hope someone's going to turn up. I was really, really lucky because two of the people who turned up were Jay Tompt, who went on to become my partner in co-founding Local Spark, and is now a co-director as well. And the other person was Simon Shabursky, who I'm sure quite a lot of your listeners will know the organisation because he heads up Torbay Community Development Trust, which has been doing such amazing work in response to COVID. So, boy, did I strike lucky with these two. I'd set up businesses and social enterprises in the past. I'm of an age where I thought I'd stopped doing all that. But I found myself one day saying, I think we need to set up Local Spark as a social enterprise. So the clue to Local Spark, really, we call it Local Spark Torbay, but its full name is more informative, really. It's Local Spark Torbay Community Supported Enterprise. And that's the crucial bit. It's that combination of community and business.
Thanks for that, Chris. Chris, we spoke off air about how one of your funders required you to do an engagement exercise, a live engagement exercise. Let's just pick up your story from there, if we may.
So we got to February, and you can see what's coming next, because as we started planning, it became clear that we weren't going to be able to run a live event. It was also clear that this was going to be a massive hit for the economy of Torbay and of Devon. So we decided to be a bit brave and bold here. So we thought we'd do an online event. To start with, it was going to be 1 day. Then it grew to 2 days. Now it's grown to 3 days. So we've been working really hard on this for a long time now. And we've put together a journey that people can come on with us. Day one is visioning, is thinking big, thinking bold, what could be different, what could be better. Day two is that original idea of showcasing inspirational businesses and that's now across 5 different focuses. And then the 4th day is putting ideas into action. And that's the bit that is actually going to generate collaborations, partnerships, and plans that are actually going to be able to help Torbay and help the whole of Devon to get through this awful time that we're in, and mean that at the far end of it, we'll actually be in a better place with a more resilient economy, better paid jobs, more people who are able to set up their own good businesses.
Fantastic. Thanks for that, Chris. Absolutely a very full answer, and I think we better go to a break, and we're going to take a short break here. Chris has given me a whole host of people who are going to interact within this hour, so we'll talk to Chris again in a few moments. Thanks. Well, let's hold it there for a second, Chris, and we will be back here on Riviera FM.
Across the English Riviera, 107.9 Riviera FM.
On 107.9
Riviera FM.
Welcome back. This morning we are talking about Regenerate Devon, and I'm now joined by Jennifer. And I understand that Jennifer is involved in all things techie. Is that right?
Yes, pretty much, yes.
Okay. And talk us through, because I understand that this runs on, now it's going to get really technical now, the Hay Summit platform. Talk to us about, in maybe not too techie terms, how this all works, and what's your involvement?
Okay, so basically, I'll explain what Hay Summit is for anybody who hasn't heard of Hay Summit before, because they'll be thinking, goodness me, what's this platform? I don't know anything about it. And what Hay Summit does is it's basically a platform designed to showcase your event that you're putting on. So it lets you display the sessions that are going to be held and the speakers. So anyone who's in an event can go and find out a bit more about what they're kind of signing up for. And then the actual sessions are delivered via Zoom, which a lot of people in lockdown are now familiar with. So what we've tried to do is we've tried to showcase Regenerate Devon Summit to the best of its ability using Hay Summit, but giving people the security of knowing there's nothing technical, particularly which they've not come across during lockdown, to be able to access all the sessions easily.
Ah, yeah.
So basically, my job has been design, kind of getting the platform Hay Summit designed, get the speakers onto it so people can go and find out more information about each talk, and also we do all the technical linking up Zoom part of the platform so people have a really good user experience, and we don't lose people, because when you put technology in the mix and people aren't used to it, sometimes people can't access sessions they really, really want to attend. So that's what we've been trying to do, make it a really good user experience for them.
So in layman's terms, would it be fair to say that the Hay Summit, you could look at it almost as a catalogue, as a printed catalogue in your hand, to be able to see the events that you want to go to?
Exactly.
Ah, right, I understand now.
And also, the good thing about the summit that is designed, because it's over 3 days, the 7th to the 9th of July, it's designed that people can come and attend. They can cherry pick what they're interested in. So they're not expected to turn up and attend every single session, because there'll be some things that are more of interest to them and maybe their business or their opportunity than others are. So they don't feel that they have to kind of, block out 3 days of time. They could just dip in and dip out of the sessions. And some of them will be recorded as well. So if they aren't able to attend because of work commitments or family commitments, a lot of them will be on replay so they can go back and watch them at a later date.
So obviously today is Tuesday the 7th. So the event is actually running now. Is it too late for people if they want to get involved?
Absolutely not. The beauty about the summit is that you could join on the 3rd day or the 2nd day or the 1st day. It's absolutely fine. And if they choose, there are 3 types of tickets as well. So there's a free ticket, a £60 ticket and a £120 ticket. And basically it's more of a contribution than a cost to join for people who want to kind of support what we're doing here. But the tickets, once you buy one or you opt for the free option, you can access all of the sessions involved in the 3 days.
Sounds fantastic. Okay, so before I leave you, Jennifer, what is the web address to be able to get to this fancy catalogue, for want of a better word?
Okay, so it's Regenerate regenerate-devon.haysummit, which is HEYSUMMIT.com. So regenerate-devon.haysummit.com.
Fantastic. Thanks very much. So if people are interested, just to reconfirm, it's not too late. They can go on there. They can find out what's still to come for the rest of today, Wednesday and Thursday, and they can still get actively involved.
Yes, exactly. And we look forward to welcoming everybody who wants to join us.
Thank you very much for your time, Jennifer. I wish you the very best. And let's hope it is a success for Devon and particularly in Torbay.
My pleasure, David. Thank you for having me.
107.9.
Welcome back. We are talking this morning about Regenerate Devon and this summit that's taking place today, tomorrow and on Thursday. And I'm currently joined by Dan Newman. Now, Dan works for the TDA, which is the economic development arm of Torbay Council. Dan, you've got a long title as lead officer for community wealth building. Can we just start off really with unpacking what that actually means? What do you do as a day job?
Good morning. Absolutely. So essentially, the key element around it is about growing our economy, about supporting it to grow, to develop, and basically to try and improve the standards of living and the quality of life locally.
And how do you see this Regenerate Devon Summit being able to, is it a catalyst after COVID, do you think?
Absolutely. So now is the perfect time for this. Obviously, we are in the midst of a crisis. There's no doubt about that, and the economy is going to suffer a number of challenges going forward. And now is the perfect time for this conversation to start about how do we build back a more resilient economy locally, but building it back in a different way, and not necessarily the ways that we have always traditionally gone about it. So now is the ideal opportunity.
So basically what we're talking about is potentially, and these words have been used many times, and I think they will ring true, looking at a new normal, something different to what we had before COVID moving forward. And we'll see that in many different walks of life, but also you imagine that that'll also be different from an economic point of view, yeah?
Definitely. So one of the things which has emerged from the COVID crisis is a lot more social cohesion, support within the communities and working together, and also a different way in which local businesses have worked together to overcome challenges. And that essentially is what the central role of community wealth building is about. It is about building that wealth within the community, about making the community better and stronger. And that aligns with a number of the essentially the themes which are as part of community wealth building. So one of them being around procurement, and that is around encouraging more local procurement, about making those supply chains locally more integrated and denser. And we've seen that from the supply of PPE with local companies supplying direct to the NHS, and to overcome those immediate challenges, and equally with other companies local companies supplying to, for example, the hospitality sector, to help them become ready for opening. And that is essentially what we are looking to create. We're looking for that wealth to stay more locally, for that pound keep circulating within the Torbay economy and not leave it.
Because we've said many times, and I've said many times on my radio show, that if one of the things that came out of COVID, if there was one thing that we'd want to hold on to, it is that community spirit. It's that coming together of people working for each other together, trying to solve a problem. And, I think what you're saying is basically trying to keep that Torbay pound, for want of a better word, basically held within the community of Torbay. So if you want to buy something, why not buy it in Torbay and make that money stay here in the Bay and go a little bit further to help everybody else? Am I on the right lines here?
Absolutely. And from that, that has the knock-on consequence of helping, of creating new employment opportunities within the Bay, and those are going to be very much needed, following some of the projections that are expected in terms of job losses. And so those new opportunities which it can create, can obviously reduce our unemployment, but equally help improve people's quality of life through better employment conditions, and raise standards of living. And that can be done through the likes of the campaigns which will be coming forward, particularly around the Keep It Local, which is one working with the Torbay Business Forum, where we're trying to promote that those businesses working with other businesses to supply one another, whether that's food and drink producers supplying to our tourism and hospitality industry, or whether it is, for example, our stationers supplying to the schools, to the NHS, whomever it may be.
Fantastic. Thank you very much indeed for your time, Dan, this morning. It's been really helpful, and I'm sure our listeners have understood a lot about the work that you're doing and how that interacts with Regenerate Devon. So we'll hold it there. We'll play another piece of music. So welcome back. We've spoken to a number of people this morning, and we're talking about the Regenerate Devon Summit that's taking place over the next 3 days, starting today. I'm now joined by Jay Tomt, who is one of the speakers, and we're going to talk a little bit about wider context of regenerative economics. It's quite a mouthful. Do you want to try and explain that to me in layman's terms for me, Jay?
Well, I'll do my best. To regenerate something really means to sort of bring it back to life. And I think that gets right to the heart of how people are using this term now to describe a new kind of economics, a new kind of approach to how we live with each other and on the planet. So for the last 10, 15 years, people have been talking about sustainability. And that word hasn't really captured what needs to be done. So there are a lot of things that don't work with regard to the economic system, as we've just seen with the pandemic. So why do we want to sustain them? We've got some massive challenges that are facing our species, not to mention, our local communities, our nation. I mean, everywhere we're facing the impacts of climate change. We are literally filling up the planet and consuming material from the biosphere, from the geosphere. We're losing biodiversity. We have massive inequality. We have poverty, rising corporate power, diminishing democratic institutions, and so on. So there are lots of things that need to change. And so the implications that come from truly understanding those issues bring us to the realization that we have to reduce our footprint on the planet. We have to find ways of living together that are more convivial, more caring. And so that's really what regenerative economics is all about. How can we live together and meet our needs in ways that are fair, that are ecologically wise, that are resilient? So resilience really is, again, another one of those things that has become clear over these last few months. How can we create the conditions to be able to withstand the shocks that we know are going to continue to come our way? And so we'll be exploring these themes during these 3 days and connecting people in this county who are working within that perspective, or who are beginning to.
And I understand you're going to be sat on the panel as well, ready to take or provide some answers from, I guess, a whole host of questions that will be fired at you. Is that right?
I'll be the first panel of day 2 talking about local economics in the context of the 2 of the projects I'm involved with. One is the Reconomy project in Totnes, and the other is Local Spark in Torbay. And both of these projects are aiming to do practical things on the ground in those local communities to try to bring about that regenerative kind of economics.
Well, thanks for that, Jay, and take this opportunity to wish you all the best for the next 3 days on the panel. I know myself firsthand how difficult it can be sometimes to answer those questions that head your way, but I'm sure you'll do exceptionally well. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back. At the beginning of the hour, we spoke to Chris Gunson, who told us all about Local Spark, how it was set up, and how Regenerate Devon Summit was basically pulled together on the back of a requirement to do a half day. And you can see clearly it's now a 3-day event. We're going to go back to Chris now. What would success look like for you from this Regenerate Devon Summit?
Success would look like different groups of people coming together to collaborate. We've got people signed up already. We're up to nearly 400 people, which is just remarkable. And success for us is going to be groups and collaborations coming together out of that with plans that they will then take forward and build so that Torbay, in our case, and the whole of Devon can move towards a more resilient economy, because one of our problems was that we didn't have a resilient economy when this hit. Too much money in the Bay leaves the Bay. So if we can do this, then we'll be in much better shape. We won't have this problem with not being able to get food. So that's what it would look like. Being us, we're already talking about what the first event after the summit might be, to help people keep that focus, because, you know, we all know what it's like. You go to these events, you know, it's really exciting. You're fired up, you're full of energy, you're full of enthusiasm. You get home, and 2 days later, reality kicks back in again. And it's too easy for these things to slip. So we're absolutely determined to do everything we can so that the ideas that come out of this summit really do get taken forward and turned into reality. And in some cases, we can help with that. We can signpost to other places that can help. But between the amazing range of people who've signed up, there's so much skill, so much knowledge, so much experience, so many contacts, that I think this is really going to work.
Fantastic, fantastic. And as Jennifer said earlier, it's not too late if people want to get involved, is it? They can. Just remind us again, how can people get involved, Chris?
Actually, if you just put into your search engine Regenerate Devon, it's coming up top on almost everything at the moment. But the full thing you need is regenerate-devon.hey, which is HEY, summit.com.
Across the English Riviera, 107.9 Riviera FM.